China just delivered a blunt message to Washington. Your sanctions are illegal, not unfair, not inconvenient, illegal. And this time, Beijing is not just complaining, it is fighting back with legal action. On May 8th and 9th, 2026, the United States announced new sanctions targeting 10 individuals and companies, many based in China and Hong Kong. Washington claims these networks helped Iran build ballistic missiles, supplied materials for Shahed attack drones, and provided satellite imagery of U.S. military bases in the Middle East. That last allegation is explosive. The U.S. says Chinese-linked satellite companies may have helped Iran identify American military targets. 3 satellite and imagery firms were named, along with carbon fiber suppliers and trade brokers tied to Iran's weapons supply chain. Secretary of State Marco Rubio framed the sanctions as part of a broader pressure campaign against Iran, but China responded sharply, calling the sanctions illegal, unilateral, and without any basis in international law. Beijing says only the United Nations Security Council can authorize legitimate global sanctions. China has a name for what Washington is doing: long-arm jurisdiction. That means the United States reaching across borders to punish foreign companies operating under foreign laws in foreign countries. Beijing argues that America is using the dollar system as a geopolitical weapon. But this time, China went further. Beijing issued its first-ever blocking order under its 2021 anti-foreign sanctions law. That order prohibits Chinese companies from complying with certain U.S. sanctions against 5 Chinese oil refineries accused of buying Iranian crude. That puts Chinese companies in a brutal position. If they obey Washington, they may violate Chinese law. If they obey Beijing, they risk being cut off from the American financial system. That is not a normal trade dispute. That is a legal and financial war. And this matters because U.S. sanctions work best when the dollar is the only game in town. But China has spent years building alternatives. Iranian oil can move through shadow fleets. Payments can be routed outside traditional dollar channels. Trade can increasingly be settled in yuan. That does not mean U.S. sanctions are powerless. They still carry enormous weight. But the fear around them may be weakening. And fear is the invisible engine behind American financial dominance. The timing is also impossible to ignore. These sanctions landed just before Trump is expected to visit China. That makes them look like pressure, leverage, and a warning before negotiations. Washington wants China to choose a side on Iran. But China's answer is becoming clearer. We choose our own side. Beijing is no longer only reacting to American sanctions, it is building legal shields, financial alternatives, and political defenses against them. Once major powers start building rival legal systems, rival payment networks, and rival trade routes, the world enters a different era. This is no longer just about Iran, it is about who gets to write the rules of the global economy. The real question is not whether Washington can sanction another company. The real question is whether the rest of the world still fears those sanctions the way it once did. Because if that fear begins to break, the dollar-centered order may no longer look untouchable. It may start looking vulnerable, and that is the part Washington does not want said out loud. This is Progressive Wave. Subscribe, like, and share this report if you want independent analysis that follows the money, tracks the power shifts, and exposes the narratives behind the headlines. The headline says sanctions, but the deeper story says the old global order is cracking.